You're in the 06010. Focus. Fantasy Focus.
Welcome into the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast. We are on to Week 11. Field Yates and Matthew Berry hanging out with you on a Tuesday. Good morning.
Good morning to you. This mic, we got a new mic hand, or is it an arm? What's it called?
Say, would you call it a hand?
Hand, arm,
I'm not
handle?
really the technical person here.
I just want you to keep saying words while you struggle with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's all.
Yeah, it's the same that it's been for the last 6 months, so it's probably.
It's not the same that it's been the last 6 months. It has been replaced within the last 6 months because it was awful. Like you could never get it to stay, and now you can't get it to move.
Oh, yeah, but you haven't been able to move it for 6 months.
No, that's.
I think I'm going to side with Daniel on this one. I'm not going to lie to you because I'm pretty sure I sit in that mic with some regularity doing other radio stuff, and I feel like it hasn't changed. Mine hasn't changed right here. This lovely Seattle Seahawks colored microphone flag.
Right.
That was proper terminology, right?
Sure.
Windscreen.
Why not?
Windscreen. Whatever.
There you go.
We got a lot to get to today, including the aforementioned Seattle Seahawks, who get a crazy win in what I thought was the game of the year on Monday Night Football. But Matthew,
yeah.
Before we get to that, a couple of days ago, I asked you, why is it that you have Matthew Berry TMR on all forms of social media except for the Fantasy Life app where you're just Matthew Berry?
And I gave you a kind of a baloney answer.
Yeah, I thought it was terrible to be. Yeah, I thought it was terrible.
Well, I wasn't expecting the question. So the real answer as to why that is.
No, just stick with your guns. There is no real answer.
No. I will tell you the exact real answer. The exact real answer is twofold. Number one is sort of what I told you, which is that I wanted to be at Matthew Berry because I'm not at Matthew Berry in other forms of social media. And here's one that I have a piece of that I'm one of the co-owners of. So I thought I should at least do that. The other reason is honestly is promotion, right? When I'm able to say hey, I am at Matthew Berry TMR on all forms of social media except the Fantasy Life app, where I'm merely at Matthew Berry, it allows me to mention the Fantasy Life app, which is 100% free, which you should download now. So it's an easy way for me to promote.
You know what? I actually buy into this. I'll give you credit on this one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But however, so then what happens is so then you go, well, what about TikTok? You make a joke. What about TikTok? And I'm like, well, I'm not on TikTok. I don't have that. So like a jerk, you asked me that, and because we have this dumb live feed that we do this, we do this thing. We do it in front of a bunch of people. We do it on the ESPN app. We do it on the ESPN Fantasy Facebook page. We do it on the ESPN's YouTube channel, and of course we do it on the Twitter at Fantasy Focus. And so there are people watching.
Yeah, a lot of them. And I love that part.
Which is insane to me. I don't know why you guys are watching this. I don't know why anyone listens to this. I don't know why you download this. I don't know why any of us are here.
My favorite people in the whole world.
So
my favorite.
Yeah. Listen.
Love you like puppies.
Stop. Now you're blatantly sucking up.
No,
it's
not
even. None of this is genuine.
You're the best.
All right. Look. So anyway. So then you ask me. So Field asks me in front of the thousands of people that watch this thing every day. If I have a username on TikTok, and I'm like, no. Now, great. Now I got to go get it. So, look. The average age of a user on TikTok is 14.
Right.
14 or 15. My kids use TikTok. My 8-year-olds and my 15-year-old does. My 8-year-old's not supposed to, but they sneak on it sometimes. So I'm thinking it was towards the end of the show. So I'm thinking we got 3 minutes left. People are going to be cool, right? People are going to not because we don't have a lot of 15-year-olds.
Yeah, we never troll you on this show for sure.
Yeah, right. So anyway, of course, as soon as the show ends, I literally I download the TikTok app and I sign up for it. And Matthew Berry TMR is taken. Somebody's taken at Matthew Berry TMR. And the bio says, not Matthew Berry, Fantasy Focus made me do it. No, don't applaud that guy. That guy's a jerk.
That guy's awesome.
No, that guy's a jerk. I'll tell you why.
Have you confirmed this was not me?
Yeah, I have not actually confirmed it wasn't. I was sitting next to you, so I assume it's not you because I
got a guy.
It's true. I will say Field is on his phone during the show a lot. So
no,
you
that's not
accurate. That's fair.
True.
I mean, it's true. If you guys are watching this online and you see a close up of me, there's a very good chance Field's on his phone right now.
What'd you say?
He's tweeting something. He's scrolling through Instagram. He's texting Chapin. He's doing something.
I bet.
So. Anyway, so what happened is I'll tell you what, you're like, oh, that guy's awesome. No, here's what happened. Okay, so then I have to go to Brendan, BK, our social guy. He's awesome. We love BK, but poor BK does so much work for so many of the talent here at ESPN, and now I've got to add something to his plate. And I tell him what happened. I'm like, yeah, stupid Field threw this out there on the air. I did say it that way, exactly. I said stupid field.
I was in the room. I can confirm that is exactly what he says.
I said stupid field, threw this out of there in the air, and now some joker out there grabbed it. Can you talk to the people at TikTok and get me this name? And so now, BK and Katie Daly, who also runs our social team here at ESPN, and they're great. So now they've got to go talk. They got to go find some executives at TikTok, and I think they're all 15 as well, right? So they got to go to the mall or whatever it is, and track them down. And then it wasted days of work for Brendan Kaminsky and Katie Daly and whoever works at TikTok, and it created a lot of unnecessary work for a lot of good people. And yeah, stupid field.
Yeah, I'm sure it took a full day to get Matthew Berry TMR offloaded from that guy who created it within 30 seconds of hearing it.
I don't know. It took longer than it should have. How about that?
Dude,
how about that?
So weak. That's the same thing happened.
Weak?
You know what? The same thing happened when we got married. Chapin went to change her Instagram handle from Chapin_Duke to Chapin_Yates. It had been taken.
Really?
And the person said, basically, I've got this as leverage. And, waiting for acknowledgement that this will become Chapin's new handle. And now now I guess the deal, apparently in his mind, is that he has, carte blanche access to ask me for fantasy advice. And so far, I've obliged. But follow Chapin at Chapin_Yates.
Certainly follow Chapin_Yates on the gram. No question about that. Listen, if all the guy is asking for is carte blanche to your fantasy advice, you got off easy.
Rewind. Fantasy news
From the National Football League.
This is the instant replay.
Got a lot of ways there, you understand.
Yeah, no question about that. By the way, for those looking for me on TikTok, I'm at Kesha. So you can follow me there. I've got one of the best accounts on the entire app.
Are you on? Because
No, I'm not.
TikTok is
come
actually
on.
your demo.
That was really good because Kesha's got a song called TikTok.
Yeah, no, I get that.
No, okay, I didn't know if you understood that
No,
or
I
not.
got the reference.
Well, I just wasn't sure. I know you grew up listening to when you had to put the record down with the steel thing and you turn it and you put it in your ear.
You know what?
Right.
You know what? Listen,
Matthew thinks the Beatles are a boy band. That's how how old he is. He's like,
guess what?
they really hit their stride.
I'll say this right now.
Schmo Joe is one of my
His
favorites.
contemporary Beethoven.
Look, I'm not sitting here saying
Biblical hymns.
These are Gregorian monk chants that he just sits to in his office and just.
See, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so great that we're live. It's so great that we're live." But it's not great that we're live, and I'll tell you why. Because if we were not live, we were in a taped environment, I would curse this mother blank out. You have no idea what I would do to this guy.
You curse my mother out? Is that what you said?
How dare you? Field's mother is a saint.
Read between the lines, right here.
Dorothy Mansion is a saint.
See that?
Oh man!
Bunch of you guys, bunch of animals, all you guys. So listen, where's Mama Dop? I'll pay
Dop
$20.
Mama, okay?
Dop
Dop
Mama. So anyway, this is what I'm going to say: is this one likes to joke with me a lot, and I will be the first to admit I am not the hippest guy in the world. I am not Mr. Cool. I am not Johnny of the moment, but I'm hipper than this guy. That's what I would say. I'm probably 15, 17 years older than Field. I think something like that.
Apparently, it's not your strong suit.
We're putting up a poll right now. Is Matthew Berry hipper than Field?
I believe I'm 17 years older than you. I think I'm actually 17 years older than you.
I am not 47 yet, but thank you.
Well, it's funny because one of the main things about Hufflepuffs is just they're very delusional.
That's a good point right there. It's a really good point.
I have not taken the official online sorting hat quiz online. So whatever.
You don't need to take it. We can just look at you and know exactly what you are.
Football question mark? Football?
Yeah, I just want to say that Hufflepuff comment came from Kenny, our producer, our digital video producer.
Kenny.
All of you. You guys are all a bunch of animals. I hate every one of you. I want to go.
I like how you're relying on. Okay, go ahead.
I would love to.
Variety hour begins right now.
No, I'm going to do it. So fine. You handle the rest of the show. I'm just going to sit here and eat my breakfast.
Okay, good. Delicious omelet. Just for you. Egg whites. I'm glad you're eating healthy at the very least.
I appreciate that.
We had a Monday Night Football game last night. It was wild. The Seahawks win in overtime. Game-winning kick by Jason Myers, who had a tough week in Week 9, bounces back in Week 10. So some of the stories of the night really was the drama of the game. I actually think there was more drama than there was maybe necessarily fantasy storylines in the game. Russell Wilson was fine last night from a fantasy perspective. 16.6 fantasy points. He had a full extra quarter to do so, or 10 more minutes, I should say, in overtime. Some of the good news, 53 rushing yards. That was a season high. He had a very atypical interception in the red zone, moreover, that nearly gave the 49ers a chance to win that game last night. But Russ goes into as one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy so far for the season. He's got 5 weeks as a top 5 quarterback in his first 10 outings. The guy has been a rock star.
So far, I've missed that Russell Wilson is good.
Yeah.
Got it.
Check back in a little bit. Chris Carson, 25 for 89 with a touchdown. But here's where it gets interesting.
Do we want to? We probably want to clip that off for social that Russell Wilson is good.
It'll be on your TikTok page.
No way.
Yes.
I don't want to put another workload on BK. You've already used up all
That's
of
a
it
good.
for the week.
Yeah.
No. Someone else can do that.
That might take the entire day, right?
Maybe Kenny can make sure to clip that.
But
hey,
we don't want to
Field
occupy
Yates says
Kenny
Russell
until,
Wilson is good. Hashtag analysis.
Until Thanksgiving, maybe even Christmas, depending on how much work that actually entails. Chris Carson with a decent night last night, but it gets more interesting with the wide receivers. Tyler Lockett left this game last night.
By the way, you know what Chris Carson did last night? Got more than 75 yards rushing. Booyah.
That's a reference to the red zone in Fantasy Football Now. Matthew finally got a question right. Congratulations to you.
I'm ahead of you, brother. I'm ahead of you on
I don't believe you are.
Yes, I am.
I think I'm still ahead of you. Oh, whatever. Anyways, Tyler Lockett left the game last night with a leg injury that actually sounds pretty significant. Last night, Pete Carroll gave a bit of information following the game. That being said, the team heads into its bye, but he stayed overnight in the Bay Area at a hospital, which tells you this is not, it's not a tweak. This is not a strain or a cramp. This could be severe for Tyler Lockett. We'll see whether we get any more information today from Pete Carroll. But Matthew, the Seahawks may very well need a new number 1 wide receiver when they return from their bye in Week 12. Lockett has been a star this season. Even in a quiet night last night, just 3 catches for 26 yards, his impact will be dramatically felt if he is actually out.
There's no question. I mean, look, Russell Wilson's still going to get his, but, do you see DK Metcalf, who has impressed so far this year? He's been really impressive. Malik Turner out of nowhere. Last night looked good. I mean, it was only 2 catches, but still, he looked good. And Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Now, Josh Gordon, look, we know the talent of Josh Gordon. I thought what was impressive last night was in 2 crucial third down situations. A guy that had just shown up, Russell Wilson went to Josh Gordon, and by the way, Josh Gordon made the play both times.
Well, the third, I believe it was 15, in which they targeted Richard Sherman, of all people. Josh Gordon made a great catch. So a couple
right
of
down,
flashes
like almost down by his knees, like in stride, like it was
very
unbelievable,
nice. Yeah.
very nice. And so yeah, we will see how that's all plays out. But you wonder is like in terms of, it's one of those things that's like, it's worth noting. Right? And you hope that maybe, this bye week comes at the perfect time for Tyler Lockett. Disappointing game last night. But certainly, listen, you've made a profit off Tyler Lockett. You're not allowed to complain about Tyler Lockett.
Right. But, of course.
I mean, he's been amazing this year. But what I was going to say is like, I don't know that there's an actionable item here. I mean, because I assume that Josh Gordon is rostered in more than 50% of leagues.
It's like 54.6. You can take a look. Take a look.
So take a look. It's worth grabbing and stashing if you have the space on your bench there. DK Metcalf's over 50%.
Yep.
And so does Malik Turner? Are you picking up Malik Turner?
No.
In the idea that maybe Tyler Lockett is out in 2 weeks.
No, but by the way,
him through the bye. Jacob Hollister looked good.
That is part of, so one of 2 takeaways is, first of all, Tyler Lockett's irreplaceable in that offense. He's a unique player in terms of his skill set, in terms of how they utilize him, and in terms of the efficiency that he has played with since really the start of the 2018 season. But Jacob Hollister is interesting. It's hard to advocate for a tight end to stash when you have him on a bye this upcoming week. But over the past 2 games, he's got 40-plus fantasy points. 40-plus fantasy points over the past 2 games.
That seems like a lot.
And moreover, they have yet to activate Ed Dixon. Luke Wilson got banged up. Or was he out of the game last night? Anyways, he didn't really play. Jacob Hollister was the only tight end that actually saw the field regularly for the Seahawks last night. And Will Dissly became a good player.
Right.
Jacob Hollister became a good player for them. I think there's some value here in Jacob Hollister going forward. I think when he returns, absent them, activating Ed Dixon and suggesting he's going to take over that job, I think Hollister can be a top 15 tight end play in a lot of weeks.
I would agree with that. I think people forget that Hollister was a kind of a buzzy player in preseason. People seem to, as a deeper sleeper tight end, and then Will Dissly emerged and, Will Dissly got healthy. He was banged up. He didn't play a lot in the preseason. Will Dissly came back, got healthy, started producing, and people forgot about Jacob Hollister. Then Dissly gets hurt. Brutal story there. He's out for the year, and now Jacob Hollister suddenly, last couple of weeks, has produced. Obviously, given the struggles of the Seattle Seahawks defense and the way Russell Wilson's playing, they're going to throw. They're always going to throw.
Yep.
And so having a significant piece of that passing attack is exciting. Nice to see Chris Carson. What was interesting here? I mean, boy, that overtime really helped. But nice to see Chris Carson. I wonder what happens if he loses that fumble. He fumbled, but they recovered. Rashad Penny had a brutal fumble. Didn't see him again.
Russell Wilson had almost fumbled the ball. He had a strip sack. Jermaine Ifedi actually lost a fumble last night for the Seahawks. Yeah. In my offensive lineman only league, that cost me a win.
I know it did.
Ridiculous.
Brutal.
I needed him to have 6 pancake blocks, and instead he fumbled it. Strip sack by
definitely a bad
DeForest
break
Buckner
for you.
of Jermaine Ifedi.
Bad break for you. But that's the thing. Like,
I actually lost on that DeForest Buckner touchdown in the IDP league.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Last night was so frustrating for me. So I'm playing Not Cool Keith in our Dynasty League that we're in. And you remember in our Dynasty League, I've already had 2 losses by less than a point. I lost to Damien, the Statapillar, by 3 decimal points in that Week 2 game where Nick Chubb shouldn't have been in. The game very end, he got that last 2-yard run against the Jets when they were up by 20 points. And for some reason, Nick Chubb, after suffering what looked like a concussion, comes back in. Makes no sense. Anyway, and so that 2-yard run gives Damien, to the 3rd decimal point, a victory over me. So very frustrating. I've lost a couple of things. So I'm against Not Cool Keith. And I am, and this is a league where I have Cooper Kupp, so I got a 0. And I'm still within.
You started Cooper Kupp on a bye?
I wish it was a bye. Yeah. Anyway, so I got a 0 from my little Cooper Kupp, and yet I'm still in this matchup with Not Cool Keith. I've Ty Johnson in this league. He leaves early with an injury. I have Emmanuel Sanders in this league. He lives the game early that we're going to talk about. And I still have Tevin Coleman. So I'm like, in this last drive, I'm only down 2 points. It's a PPR league. Like, all I need to do is catch 1 ball for 9 yards on the last drive. We're going into overtime. I should win this. He's not in an overtime. What's Raheem Mostert doing out there?
Actually, running well is what he was doing, to be honest with you.
Raheem Mostert looked good, but there was some talk that Tevin Coleman looked like he left the game early as well due to injury, that he got a little bit banged up. We have no official word on that. But
nothing official. Yeah, right. I did not know that. Anyways, we all had a lot of bad.
Because I was desperately searching Twitter for where's Tevin Coleman in overtime.
A lot of tough fantasy luck.
I hope you're proud of that victory, Not Cool Keith, because you shouldn't be. Because you don't deserve to win that one. You don't deserve to beat me by 2 points in a week in which Cooper Kupp scores 0 points, and I have 3 players leave the game early due to injury.
First of all,
I just want to let you know I did have to start Brian Hoyer in the game, so
Oh, shoot. You got beat by Brian Hoyer. He couldn't even beat the Dolphins, and he beat you. He couldn't even beat the Dolphins, and he beat you, Matthew Berry.
Tough day at the office.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, if your stupid Ty Johnson hadn't gotten hurt, if your stupid Ty Johnson could have gutted out 5 points.
That's not my fault.
4.5 points. Secret squirrel.
You know that fantasy football feeling, Daniel? When the excitement for a new week builds, you flex your analytical skills by poring over stats, studying charts, and trying to spot trends. Well, what if I told you that you could use those skills to invest and feel that same sense of anticipation every day? TD Ameritrade thinks you can. That's because a lot of those same analytical skills you use to set your lineup can help you build a portfolio. Not to mention, TD Ameritrade has all the education and investing tools you need to feel confident when you take the trading floor. There's paper money so you can practice trading risk-free. There's charting to help you spot trends in the market. And they'll even create an investing training plan that's unique to you and your needs, complete with exclusive videos, webcasts, and courses. Just visit tdameritrade.com/fantasy to learn more. That's tdameritrade.com/fantasy to get started. Member SIPC. We move on to the 49ers, and Matthew was just talking about them. Not a great offensive night for most of the offense. Jimmy Garoppolo, 10 fantasy points. He tried to throw the interception on several occasions during overtime and late in that game as well. Tevin Coleman limited to 40 yards on 9 carries, plus 4 catches for 32 yards. As far as I know, Matthew, no official injury. So we don't know. If there is something, it's news to me, and we'll find out later on today.
Don't you think it is, fantasy frustrations aside, don't you think it is weird that Tevin Coleman wasn't in at all in the overtime period for the 49ers?
Was he not in at all?
Did not play one snap.
Okay, because I would just say this is
trust me, I was watching it like a hawk. I needed two stupid points to beat Not Cool Keith.
I thought he wasn't he hobbled though at the end of the game? He had a
That's
couple
what I'm saying. Like,
he was banged up.
Yeah, nothing official though.
Nothing official. Like, it may have just been like, hey, why don't you?
They just have such good depth in the backfield. They probably just went with the.
My thought was that, like,
look, and Mostert looked good. And Breida did leave the game. Breida did get banged up, which is like, that's what Matt Breida does.
So here's what I would say. We're probably smart to just table all of this absent more information. Like, if we find out today that either Breida is hurt or Tevin Coleman is hurt, then we have a much more thoughtful conversation tomorrow morning. But for right now, Like, it's just a disappointing night. Not even a disappointing night for Tevin Coleman. 11.2 fantasy points is fine, Matthew Weyer. It's not great, but it's fine. It's something, you know?
Well, here's the thing. To me, the story of the 49ers from last night was, Deebo Samuel. 8 for 112, 11 targets.
Well, after Emmanuel Sanders left the game early because of a ribs issue, so he leaves the game after just 2 catches for 24 yards. It was a play in which he knew right away he was hurt.
Yeah,
and
you saw him grabbing at it, yeah.
Not only because Emmanuel Sanders got hurt. Deebo Samuel was involved prior to that, but Deebo Samuel took on a massive role once Emmanuel Sanders went down.
Right, no George Kittle in this game as well.
Yep.
So you have no George Kittle, you have no Emmanuel Sanders. Kendrick Bourne had a nice game on some plays.
Yeah.
And then had some brutal drops as well.
He managed to drop and also catch touchdowns last night.
Yeah.
It's a rare thing.
It is, but I mean, if Kittle is out next week and so is Emmanuel Sanders, Deebo Samuel should be in the free agent fines column. Deebo Samuel is somebody that, a talented player, like him a lot. I know they like him a lot in San Francisco as well. The concern was, of course, it's still a run first offense, and they have Kittle and they have Emmanuel Sanders now. So just, Deebo Samuel probably a nicer player for the Niners than he is necessarily a fantasy force. But if those two guys were to miss any more time,
he is on the waiver wire column, and we got an eye on him going forward because their schedule is fine. Arizona, Green Bay, Baltimore, New Orleans. Nothing there that is super treacherous in terms of how you think they might be able to neutralize him.
And we'll
player.
see if he's back in 4 weeks, but Marshawn Lattimore banged up for the Saints. He's going to miss a few games.
Yep.
So that certainly weakens that secondary.
We'll see what happens if Emmanuel Sanders is back next week. Then it changes the tenor of this a little bit, but still. Deebo Samuel, a talented guy to keep an eye on. Let's get to some news because we got some last night prior to the game, including that Brandin Cooks is out for Week 11. That according to head coach Sean McVay of the Rams. Matthew, we saw Josh Reynolds step in last week, but they do head home. Are you on TikTok right now? Get off TikTok.
Matthew Berry, I swear.
I was actually trying to get out of TikTok.
Here he is.
Why were you in the first
Hold on,
place?
Daniel. Can we just reset this for a second?
My
Let's level
goodness.
set. Matthew tells you guys, Fields always on his phone during the show. Yada, yada,
Fields is
yada.
always on the show during the phone.
5 seconds later, Matthew opens up TikTok and he's playing some Lizzo TikTok session. Come on, man.
Listen, I'm trying to look. First off,
something. I think doesn't BK offer a tutorial of how to log out of TikTok? It's only half a day.
I think so. It's only a half a day session.
Right.
Though.
So it's
4 hours.
totally worthwhile.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I just took a DNA test and
come on, you don't know any Lizzo songs?
I'm asking you.
Feeling good. I got my hands. You know that one, the latest one with Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
That's Truth Hurts is probably the most popular one. Obviously.
I like the Juice one. That's
Juice
my favorite.
is good.
All right.
That one's my favorite.
That is good.
Anyway, so
And
all
it's
right.
my
So anyway,
fault.
so listen, I'm at Matthew Berry TMR on TikTok. I have 0 followers, 0 likes. I'm not following anyone. I have 0 videos, but like whatever. Here's the thing. It's a brand new account. I don't know how much, if anything, I'm going to do on TikTok. But if you follow me, I'll follow you back. Or whatever. It's TikTok. Who cares?
Oh my God.
I want to see how many people. I want to see how many followers I get.
So you're the Tay Diggs of TikTok, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. That's a great reference, actually.
That's
that is
so
a great
true.
Joke.
That is amazing. I'm going to start calling you
the Tay Diggs of TikTok. Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to be the Tay Diggs of TikTok. Anyway, I want to see if anyone follows me. They're so quick to go sign up for my username. Let's see if anyone follows me on TikTok.
Brandin Cooks is officially out for Week 11, Matthew. They are playing at home, which is good news, but the Rams super banged up along the offensive line, and they welcome Khalil Mack and the Bears to Los Angeles, one of the teams that totally dominated them last season, albeit in Chicago, but still. Does Josh Reynolds even have fantasy value this week, Matthew, or are you saying to yourself, I saw it last week, it wasn't good enough, I'm avoiding?
Yeah, I mean, look, Giants, Packers, Seahawks, Titans, those are the teams on the bye. So I guess it depends on how desperate you are for a wide receiver. You certainly could be. You got Adams. You're without Adams. You're without Tyler Lockett. You're without Golden Tate. So it depends on sort of, what your options are. I think there are better bye-week fill-ins than Josh Reynolds. This offense looks broken. And I get it. Like, it's the Raiders, and so it should be, in theory, right? I'm sorry. No, it's not the Raiders. It's the Bears. Sorry, they're playing
Khalil
the Bears.
Mack used to play for the Raiders.
Right. I was still in TikTok and Lizzo and Juice. I got a lot going on here. So, look, yeah. So I get it. They're playing the Bears, which is that's not a great. It's not a great matchup. The Bears defense has certainly struggled recently, but it's still not a great matchup. And you mentioned, like, I think that's a much bigger story that isn't getting any play. Like
The
they lost their
offensive
center for the year.
Yep.
Right? And
Right tackle Rob Havenstein also out for this week.
They lost their right tackle as well to an offensive line that has already been struggling.
It's been terrible.
If you have Todd Gurley,
yeah.
What do you like? Are you seeing what you can get for Todd Gurley?
Maybe.
I kind of am.
Yes, but the problem is, what are you going to get after last week? Didn't find the end zone, which is his value this year, right? His value is finding the end zone.
But he's still on pace for, double-digit touchdowns. Yeah. He's still the lead running back on a good offense. Like, given the state of the running back position, you could get offers for Todd Gurley, I think.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. You know what?
Todd Gurley is more frustrating to people that have them on their rosters. I think if people that have Todd Gurley on their rosters are much more frustrated and aware of his struggles this year than people that don't.
Okay.
Like you just sort of think like, yeah, Todd Gurley's fine. He's not Todd Gurley in capital letters the way he has been, but he's been fine. He's been a low-end RB1.
He's running back 22 on a per-game basis, so I wouldn't say that's quite accurate, right?
Right. But I'm just saying that's what I think his perception is.
Perception is low-end RB1. I don't think that's the case, but perhaps you could trade him for a player that's more of a flex play than an RB2, which I think is where we feel like Gurley could net out. Falcons got a lot of injuries, Matthew, all season and again now with Devonta Freeman and Austin Hooper, both likely to miss at least week 11. So, spoiler alert, Brian Hill certainly is a notable name on the waiver wire column this week. We feel like he is the number one priority.
Yep.
The problem with Hooper, Matthew, is that when a tight end goes down, we don't have a bunch of other tight ends to suggest that you go and grab. It's a bummer for who has been the best tight end in fantasy so far this year. So I think in one case, you can look in-house. In the other case, you're going to have to go to the waiver wire and hope for the best because tight ends are hard to find right now.
Yeah, they certainly are, and you would know better than anyone. Look, I mean, Jack Doyle, we've talked about a few of these guys, right? I mean, Jack Doyle's out there in a few leagues. Yep. I mean,
here's some of the names. Jack Doyle's available. We talked about Jacob Hollister. He goes on a bye right now. But somebody like Kyle Rudolph, who had 2 touchdowns this past week, he's got 4 straight games with at least 3 catches. He's a usable name. If you believe in Eric Ebron, Darren Fells.
Darren Fells.
His brother, Daniel.
Brother Daniel. I don't know. I'm looking at Daniel. I don't know. I'm all discombobulated after my TikTok experience.
But so beyond that, though, Eric Ebron, I think had something like 12 targets last week. Eric Ebron demanded his role change, and he got a whole bunch more work. Wasn't super productive, but still. O.J. Howard, available. We'll talk about these guys a little bit more during the waiver wire column. But right now, you're going to have to make contingency plans for Austin Hooper. Let's get into the value of Brian Hill a little bit more, Matthew, because he's going to be the starter for what sounds like at least a week. And is it as simple as plug and play? He goes into the starting lineup for Atlanta and he becomes like a top 20 running back for you, given how Atlanta has performed so far this year, plus his ability, plus the fact that it's not just Devonta Freeman who's hurt. They put Ito Smith on IR. So it should be Hill unto himself right now as the guy.
Over the last 4 weeks, no team in the NFL is worse against the run than the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, on a rushing yards allowed per game.
Yeah,
no team's been worse than the Carolina Panthers. We just saw Aaron Jones score 3 times against them last week.
Yep,
they have really struggled against the run, and so Brian Hill, who last week got 20 touches, and so I mean, maybe you see some Kadri Allison in this one, but it's gonna be the Brian Hill show. That's with all expectations, and so. Behind a decent offensive line in a great matchup with a lot of volume, you could do worse this week than Brian Hill.
Feel the same way here, Matthew. The offense, I don't know if it found its way last week, but I think there's a lot more confidence here in Atlanta. And looking at their schedule right now,
okay,
would it totally stun you if they were 4-7 going into their rematch with the Saints in a couple of weeks?
No. So they're 9-7 the hard way.
9-7 the hard way, baby.
There you go.
Yeah,
go Falcons.
Them and the Dolphins, right?
Rise up.
Yeah, rise up.
So they play. Here's the thing that encourages you about Brian Hill was that he's had some passing game usage as well, and so again, when he's sort of like the only guy. So the reason I bring that up is at Carolina, you love that matchup this week, but next week home to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, don't love that.
Well, you don't in theory, but again, like you can throw on Tampa Bay, you know, and so. His involvement in the passing game, in theory, should help. Home to New Orleans, then the rematch there. Listen, he scored a touchdown against the Saints the last time.
Yep.
And then home to Carolina. So it's a lot of divisional games here in the next 4 weeks for the Atlanta Falcons. And so Brian Hill, as long as Devonta Freeman is out, is a viable RB2.
I agree on that one. Looking forward to seeing him get a lot more work this weekend. A guy that they liked coming out of Wyoming, 5th-round pick, got waived, as we mentioned yesterday, ended up in Cincinnati. He's now back in Atlanta with a real chance to earn his keep. We're going to get into a whole bunch more waiver wire names, but first, a word from Matthew on Old Spice.
I'm going to pull out my Old Spice live read right here.
Spice.
Field, this new branded commercial segment has been brought to you by Old Spice Sweat Defense and their longtime NFL spokesperson, rookie Montez Sweat, who they've always been a fan of and never once would run any other ads to the contrary. In fact, Old Spice wouldn't ever consider a person named Sweat and real sweat as the same thing. That would be just crazy. Reminding you that Montez's Sweat's name is Sweat. He plays defense, and Old Spice Sweat Defense is the superior defense against Sweat. Isn't that a great coincidence? That's it for now. Bye.
Well done by you. That was very matter of fact, to the point, very Montez Sweat-like.
That's a tough live read to go, but we appreciate our friends from Old Spice and Montez Sweat for joining the show.
Montez Sweat, one of the few Redskins that has some promise, and Old Spice, which keeps us all smelling great. Time now for the waiver wire column, and I'll just sort of take it from here, Matthew, for a minute as you eat your delicious strawberries.
They're yummy.
DeVante Parker continues to be on somewhat of a roll for the Miami Dolphins. He had 5 catches for 69 yards in Week 10. He has 10 targets in 2 of his last 4 games, and as a matter of fact, over those past 4 weeks, he has a 25% target share, which is a higher rate than Amari Cooper and Chris Godwin during that same stretch. Now, the schedule is a little bit tough this week with Buffalo coming to town in Miami. They're the only team this year that has not yet allowed a 100-yard receiver. But then he goes to Cleveland, home to Philadelphia, and at the New York Jets. I think those last 3 matchups are ones that you feel pretty good about with DeVante Parker. With no Preston Williams there, this Miami passing game runs through Parker, who has sort of finally delivered on expectations.
Yeah, we've seen it a million times before, the old 5th-year breakout. So 4 straight games, though, with 55 or more receiving yards. The only players with a longer active streak than that, you think, 4 games with a 55 receiving yards, whatevs. The only players with a longer active streak, Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's not nothing. And so as long as Ryan Fitzpatrick is the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, he's a professional quarterback, and he can get the ball to DeVante Parker. They are going to have to throw. They can't run the ball. And their defense has, kept them in games in which they have to throw to keep up. And so DeVante Parker, it's sort of crazy, but I'm with you, Field. Now, why don't we move from Miami to a team that beat them a few weeks ago in the Pittsburgh Steelers?
That's right. James Washington, who last week had 6 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble, and his touchdown may not have been a touchdown, but it counted in the stat book. The Steelers play on Thursday night, so if you're going to make a move, you better do so fast. Over the past couple of weeks, Matthew, he's been productive. He's got 10 catches for 159 yards, plus a touchdown over the past 2 weeks. He's got a 20-plus yard reception in 4 straight games. He's fast. Mason Rudolph has not been great. I'm not going to say he's improving either. I think he is what he is. But I think James Washington in a deeper league is a potential consideration as Juju stock is falling down. Other Steelers wide receiver stocks are perhaps rising just a little bit.
Since James Washington came back in Week 8, he's actually tied for the Steelers' team lead with 7 deep targets. So when they are taking shots, it's going to James Washington those 3 weeks, right? So he's got 11 catches, 17 targets, 180 yards, 1 touchdown. Just by comparison, Juju Smith-Schuster, same 3 weeks, 11 catches, okay, the same, 20 targets, 3 more, 163 yards less, 1 touchdown, the same. So, I mean, look, you don't love that for Juju Smith-Schuster, but for a guy that's sitting out there on the waiver wire, you certainly like that when it comes to James Washington.
I'm glad you mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster because yesterday we talked about the possibility of doing a Juju Smith-Schuster name game. We decided to save as we could get a real full list of wide receivers to consider. So, Daniel, it's time now for a name game.
Grow up and you have a name.
Sure. Field is playing with his own spicy tomato.
I just don't want to touch it.
Why do you hate Devonta Freeman?
Why do you hate Aaron Rodgers?
I don't want to leave before we talk about Golden Tate.
So many names to choose from.
Field brought up Boner.
But when I squeeze it, nothing happens.
And then Mike Clay brought up Boner.
Now a groin issue. We don't know where that is.
You don't know where the groin is? What's with Ted Ginn? I'm just
Why can't
warning
you just tap it?
Because Carson Palmer
sucks.
I'm an attractive human.
Oh, you are. You are. You're very attractive.
This is getting creepy all of a sudden.
Put your shirt on and tell me some fantasy advice.
Matthew Berry, you're a son of a.
It's a family show.
That's one of
good.
the best ones. That is
Thank
one
you,
of the
Lee.
best one. No question. All right, Field Yates, you want to do this? You want me to do it?
I'll lead it off. Juju Smith-Schuster or John Brown. By the way, Juju's up to 11.4 points per game this season. Actually, down to 11.4 points per game this season.
John Brown, 14.2 fantasy points per game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'd take John Brown as well. He's got over 50 receiving yards in every game so far this year. Jamison Crowder or Juju Smith-Schuster? Yeah.
Weirdly, Jamison Crowder, I think.
I'm going to stick with Juju there for the rest of the way, but it is close. Jamison's averaging 12.1.
It's only because of the
per
schedule.
Game. Yeah. And also, like Sam Darnold with Jamison Crowder has been a different player. I'm going to lean ever so slightly to Juju.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Here, the way, and I'm fence sitting here, I get it. I guess what I was saying is if I needed, it would depend on the makeup of my team, roster construction, right? If I needed somebody that had sort of home run ability, then it's Juju. But if I'm just like, you know what, I've got some home run hitters on my team, just give me 12 points every week, it's Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it. DK Metcalf or Juju?
Still Juju. Depending, I'd want to, like, let's see how bad the injury is.
Of Tyler Lockett, I agree.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon, same team.
Yep, same Juju.
Juju as well there. I mean, again, 2 nice catches last night, but we got a long way to go before we sort of trust him implicitly to be a weekly starter if they go on a bye this week as well. Mohamed Sanu, who has 11 points per game so far this season, of course, since taking over or since becoming a Patriot, his role has changed dramatically.
Our bet starts this week, though, right? I believe it does.
Top 30 for the rest of the season.
Top 30 for the rest of the season on Mohamed Sanu. I would feel better about the bet if I were you than I would have 2 weeks ago. I think you got to feel pretty good about it.
I feel pretty good. I will stick with Mohamed Sanu in this one, by the way.
Still going to go Juju. My concerns are, they get Philip Dorsett more involved, and if the pass is any indication, and it isn't always with the Patriots, obviously, but if the pass is any indication, when we get into December, the last 4 weeks of the season, they're going to go more run heavy. They tend to do that.
I wonder, so do we make this a double bet? Like, do we make this Juju versus Sanu plus top 30 for Sanu?
I'm not betting on Juju.
Okay.
Come on, stop.
Okay.
I don't. No, listen, I've already got enough writing on, anti-Mohamed Sanu. I don't feel great about it. So
Sammy Watkins or Juju Smith-Schuster?
Still Juju. I think just, the health is always a concern with Sammy Watkins. But if you were
Jekyll and Hyde, right?
But if you were to say, like, over the next, what do we got 6 weeks left in the season, right?
7.
What's week 11?
Or 7 weeks.
7 weeks? Okay. So next, I was told there'd be no math. So over the next 7 weeks of the season, if you said to me, one of these players has 3 25-point games, which one is it? I would say Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
But
I'm not counting on it.
No, I'm not
Has
either.
A chance of getting 3? Yes.
Right.
I'd go Juju. I'd lean Juju.
I'm still going Juju, too. It's the same sort of thing with it's sort of the same. It's the opposite of the Crowder argument, right? Like, if I needed just an upside play, I think I'm going Watkins. If I need more of a floor, I'm probably going Juju. But, I mean, like, boy. It's just what we're... The fact that it's a decision for us.
It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart.
The fact that we're sitting here mulling Jamison Crowder, regardless of which side we landed on, the fact that it's even a consideration, the fact that we're like, maybe, should tell you all you need to know about the season that Juju Smith-Schuster has had. I would say that the biggest disappointments in fantasy this year, non-injury related, have to be him and Gurley, I would think, in terms of where they've been drafted.
Yep, Le'Veon Bell's up there as well.
Le'Veon Bell as well, yep. Not for me.
A couple others.
I had Le'Veon Bell on the hate. Zach Ertz also was on the hate list. Le'Veon Bell was on the hate list. Both guys were not disappointment for me because they were who?
Christian McCaffrey.
Interesting. I would not have put him on that list, but interesting. All right, so Kenny, if we can go ahead and cut that clip for social, just in terms of biggest disappointment. I would love ESPN to send an alert that Field Yates thinks Christian McCaffrey is one of the season's biggest busts. If we could just send that alert out, and if we could clip that for YouTube and for ESPN.com and the ESPN Fantasy app, if we could just make sure America, I'm trying to get you some pub.
Right, I'm fine with that. As long as you put in parentheses, follow him on TikTok. I'm cool with whatever you put out there. What do you got, Keith?
Here's a social question regarding Juju. Eric wants to know, he was offered Juju for Joe Mixon in a PPR league. Should I accept?
Yes. Honestly, I would.
I love
get
the
it.
pause that you both have, and seeing your faces is so fantastic.
Well, by the way, Mixon also Mixon might have.
He might
take
the cake.
He's the biggest.
He takes the cake.
Biggest disappointment. But I think I feel like there's a better chance of Juju bouncing back than Mixon. Am
was
I
his
crazy
best
on
game
that?
of the season
I know
this
Mixon's
past
off
week
his
for Mixon, but I don't feel good about either side of the deal, to be honest.
No, I don't either. But I think
it's as simple as this.
The reason I'm saying that is
you need more though, right? Like it depends on it's your roster needs. If you have a slightly better depth at running back than wide receiver, then I would prefer the Juju side. If you're the inverse and you have better depth at wide receiver than running back, then I would take the Joe Mixon side.
Yeah, because I guess my feeling is that I'd rather the Steelers have suddenly gotten good.
Well,
I mean, their defensive has been their defense has been great, and their offense has played well enough to keep them in games and get them some victories, right? And so
it's the defense, it's not the offense.
But look, I'm not saying the offense is great. It's not. But which offense, just as a whole, would you rather have? Cincinnati's at the moment or Pittsburgh's? I think I'd rather have Pittsburgh's.
If AJ Green's back, I might take you to task on that one, but I agree.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Green, we have no idea on AJ Green. And I think that's fair. If AJ Green is back, then I think it's a real conversation. But I guess my point is that I think that winning on an NFL team is just sort of infectious. And so the Bengals, with a rookie quarterback, and they haven't won a game so far this year, and it's been a bad year in Cincinnati. I guess I would rather Juju Smith-Schuster as part of as Mason Rudolph continues to get more and more comfortable in that role. He's the guy. The Steelers are winning. They're starting to get some momentum. The team is feeling good about itself. I guess I would rather a guy in that scenario than a guy behind one of the worst offensive lines in football, if not the worst, on a winless team with a crappy defense that's going to be losing a lot of the time. That's splitting some work with Giovanni Bernard up prior to this last game. We'll see if Bernard is healthy. I mean, so it's close. I get it. They're both talented players. I would prefer Juju in that deal.
We will take a quick break and come back and talk about just a couple of more players on the waiver wire.
Time now for our daily reminder to don't be this guy, Daniel. And today's submission comes from SH. When he lost his fantasy league, he had to drum on buckets from hardware stores in the city of Pittsburgh wearing a Browns jersey. Secret Squirrel, you're used to wearing a jersey that no one likes.
What?
Any tips for this guy?
Oh, first off, couple tips. Make sure you work on your triplets. That's really big when it comes to drums. Also, be able to figure out how to use your foot. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it just feels like that's a crappy band you never heard of. Just another one kind of bands that you would listen to.
Shut up.
A guy on buckets
Stupid
in Pittsburgh.
idiot.
He's Field Yates.
Couple more waiver wire ads to note, and I know that we've been sort of down on him over the past few weeks, but it is a week in which we have 4 teams on a bye. Matthew Stafford is iffy right now going into week 11. Sam Darnold at quarterback is a potential week 11 streamer. They play the lowly, pathetic Washington Redskins on Sunday, and Darnold's coming off of one of his 2 best games of the year. 230 passing yards, hit a 25 yards on the ground, a rushing touchdown, a throwing touchdown. He was quarterback 7 for the week. And we have been talking about the schedule is generous, Matthew, and he's right in the thick of it. And I know that people are probably sick of hearing us talk about the schedule, but it's Washington, it's Oakland, it's Cincinnati, it's Miami. If Sam Darnold can build on what we saw last week, he has a chance to be a legitimate streaming option each of the next 4 weeks.
Maybe. Here's the thing. No one likes dumping on the Redskins more than I do. Okay? But
Bruce Allen does.
Awful. So awful. But the Redskins have weirdly been competitive. Defensively. I don't know that this is the layup matchup that everyone thinks it is. But again, this is not my homerism talking. Like you guys know, I am point blank rooting for 1-15. I want the Bengals to win a game. I want the Bengals to win 2. I want the number 1 pick. I want to go 1-15. Let's go. Hail the Redskins. Hail victory.
Hail defeat.
Hail defeat. Yeah. Let's do that. Hail defeat. That's the only chance we got of getting rid of Bruce Allen is if we go 1-15. And it still probably won't happen because, they think he's close. Damn good culture. Blah, blah, blah. The whole thing is depressing. But I'm not convinced this is a layup matchup for Sam Darnold. Last 4 weeks, Redskins 6th against the pass. They're 6th best scoring defense in the NFL. And you think about just sort of off the top of your head some of those games, like that Thursday night game against Minnesota. Like, it was a close game against Minnesota for the most part. Cousins didn't have a big game in that one. Like, the 49ers won 9-0. It was that slop bowl. But still, I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Sam Darnold to feel like, oh, he's a no-brainer start this week.
I say Sam Darnold will be a top 12 fantasy quarterback in Week 11.
Top 12. You
Top
were
12.
going to say top 10.
I just misspoke.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I say Sam Darnold is not a top 12 fantasy quarterback in Week 11.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
We made our way there eventually.
Yeah, we got there. Not our best work.
Fantasy Trends is brought to you by TD Ameritrade, and a name of note this week is O.J. Howard for the Buccaneers. We mentioned him just a bit earlier on in the show. Has the corner been turned? We'll see, but he did have 4 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. Good enough for tight end 7 on the week. The Bucs have already had their bye. That's good news. They faced the Saints, the Falcons, the Jaguars, and the Colts, but I'm a little bit less worried about the long-term, Matthew. I'm a little bit more worried about the short-term. Just, can he stack another good week on top of what we saw last week from O.J. Howard? This is a I can't quit you moment for me. He's talented. He's big. He's athletic. They're going to have to throw to keep up with New Orleans. My hope is that he can get the job done. And one more tight end here is Kyle Rudolph, who's available in about 2/3 of leagues. And Rudolph and the Vikings go on a bye next week, but they play the Vikings this week. Over his past 4 games, he has at least 3 catches in all of them. Last week, he had 4 catches for a grand total of 14 yards. However, he added 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Again, when you're looking for tight end options, and I don't even want to call him a tight end 1. I call him part of the tight end top 15 potential. And if you're looking for one of those guys, Kyle Rudolph is a name to note. Before we get to our social questions from Keith, we have a quick word from Matthew Berry.
It's New York Times bestselling author Matthew Berry with another self-serving, self-indulgent, all-about-me promo.
We're into November, and it's about the time that people start thinking about holiday gifts.
Right. What are you going to get me for Christmas?
What are you going to get me for Hanukkah? Exactly.
And your birthday.
Yeah, and my birthday. My birthday's coming up as well. And so if you're in that gift-buying mode, why not head over to fantasylife.com, where we have tumblers and T-shirts and hats and hoodies and women's apparel and trophies. If you don't have a trophy yet for your team, we have trophies. We have last place loser trophies, too. We have Matthew Berry last place loser trophies that are pretty good. So it's me in a toilet. So what could be better than that, right?
I can think of a few things.
Yeah. Right. Listen, I think you should probably buy 1 or 2 of those. Anyway, we've got a Yater's Gonna Yate T-shirt there. If anyone wants to buy one of those,
the press, yeah.
We have a this might be my favorite. There's one that if you go to fantasylife.com and you click on 06010, you'll see a bunch of apparel and shirts from the show here, including one that says "I'm in a crappy band you never heard of," which is pretty good.
That's so good.
That's pretty good.
Do you have one of those, Daniel?
I do not have one of those. I'm not in a crappy band you've never heard of.
Wow.
That's true.
Very impressive.
I am going to get one we have a crappy bands fantasy league with a bunch of guys that are in it, and the winner is going to get one of those T-shirts.
There you have it.
Pretty good. There's some, we get the Curse of Stefania Bell, and She's Not a Cone, and put on the board, and we got a bunch of different stuff there. So anyway, check it out, fantasylife.com, for all your fantasy football needs. Your apparel, your tumbler. The tumblers are actually really good. I use them.
I want a trophy.
You want a trophy?
Yep, I want a trophy.
Win a league?
Okay. Well, I want to buy a trophy that I will give to the winner of that league.
Oh, done. Yeah. Fantasylife.com.
Okay.
There you go.
Take my credit card right now.
Awesome.
All right, Keith.
Not cool, Keith. Not cool, Keith. Not cool, Keith. Live to rise.
You know what? I screwed up. You're Allison's dad.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah, let's
Allison's
hear it for
dad.
Allison.
She was awesome.
Boy, your daughter crushed it like a grape yesterday.
You guys made her day. She was a person of few words, 1-word answers, and then she picked the Steelers to beat the Browns.
Squealers.
Yeah, I'm going to say Steelers. I'm sorry.
No, we're calling it the Squealers.
We'll just respect them. You can respect them.
All right, so we got some questions here. James wants to know, would you prefer Latavius Murray or Kareem Hunt rest of season?
I would prefer Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, That's a tough one.
Yeah, I go with.
It's
I
a
think
tough one, but
yeah.
I feel better about Kareem Hunt's usage than I do about Latavius Murray's. You know, it feels like it's going to be. I mean, listen, they're both valuable handcuffs. If anything were to happen to Chubb or Kamara, both guys would be top 10 plays, and so then you're just like, which one do you feel better about playing as a flex? And you feel better about Kareem Hunt's passing game usage than you do about Latavius Murray's. So, yeah, I agree with Field here.
Smart
Kareem.
call by you, Matthew.
Steven wants to know, what are your early
This show
thoughts?
can't end early enough for me. When are we done with this show? Are we done yet?
We're almost there, man.
Don't you worry.
Thank God.
Almost there.
Yeah, what else? What do we got?
Steven wants to know, early thoughts on Mike Evans against the Saints since he had 0 catches in their first meeting.
I love Mike Evans against the Saints. Marshawn Lattimore, we talked about this earlier in the game, earlier in the show. He's not going to play in this game, and he's been the one that's really given Mike Evans fits over his career when they've played.
Yep.
And so in a game in which we know the Buccaneers are going to have to throw to keep up with New Orleans, I don't expect Drew Brees to throw for 0 touchdowns again. That just isn't going to happen.
I feel like it probably won't happen. You're probably right on that.
I would like to take the over on 0 touchdowns for Drew Brees. And so yeah. I mean, I think Mike Evans has a monster game this week. He's an easy top 10 play this week.
The Joe Mixon questions continue to roll in.
Yeah, they do.
Trevor wants to know, Ronald Jones or Joe Mixon for the rest of the season?
Ooh, I'd go with Ronald Jones. At least there's upside. Like, at least you have games where you can get some upside.
Yeah.
Are we even seeing that from Joe Mixon?
No, I mean, he had his best game of the year. He needed 30 carries to get over 100 yards. I mean, yes. I can't. Yeah, Ronald Jones. I mean, Ronald Jones, I think, has scored in 3 of the last 4 off the top of my head, something like that, right? I mean, yeah, Rojo.
Carter wants to know if there's any panic on your part for Darren Waller.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Not much you can do about it, right? Because it's like, you know, if you're going to trade Darren Waller, you're going to get a tight end who comes with massive question marks. Because there's only like 6 that don't have massive question marks.
Guys, I'm literally trying to trade Darren Waller to somebody that listens to this show. Please don't say anything else.
So if I were to trade Darren Waller, I would do it. So you're trying to get Darren Waller?
No, I'm trying to trade him away.
Yeah. So if I were trying to acquire Darren Waller, I would only do it if I could offer up like Christian McCaffrey. Other than that, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
There you go. I mean, here the positives of Darren Waller. So last 3 weeks, he's tight end 17 on a points per game basis after being a top 7 tight end prior to that. So that's a concern, but I think we talked about this. We talked about this on the Fantasy Show on ESPN Plus, which you can check out now. And we talked about Waller, and I believe he is still at a 24% target share. Thirsty Kyle, keep me honest on that one. But I believe he's still getting a very nice target share for a tight end, and he's talented. You know, teams. I think that as other pass catchers in the Raiders' offense have started to produce, you know, we've seen Hunter Renfrow have some nice games here. And so my expectation is that once teams realize, like, oh, we got to sort of pay attention to everyone, Tyrell Williams is back, like, that they're going to have to start not focusing as much attention on Waller, which is, I think, is what's happened the last couple of weeks, is that teams have focused defensively on Waller, and also Derek Carr has spread the ball around quite a bit. Like, he's gotten a lot of guys involved. So, yeah, a little nervous about Waller the baller. He's been, as we talked about, he's been kind of Waller the smaller recently, but
right.
I am still, so 23.9% target share, so 24%. So good job by me. Thirsty Kyle posted up on the screen there for us. So a little nervous, but I agree with Field. I don't know that there's much you can do other than roll him out there. I think if you're trading him, you're trading at his lowest point of value in the season, which is what Daniel's trying to do.
Magic Marker wants to know, can we trust F1 with Haskins starting the rest of the season? F1, for the uninitiated, is Terry McLaurin, his former teammate at Ohio State.
Yeah, it's very... I'm still not buying F1 as the nickname.
That's okay. You're the only one. Everyone else is buying F1.
No, it isn't. I'll tell you who else doesn't buy it, and that's Terry McLaurin.
Do we know that for a fact?
He has said that he's open to Scary Terry. He's which I don't love either.
He said he doesn't like Scary Terry.
And then he walked that back a little bit. He said he's okay. He doesn't care. He's a good kid that just wants to focus on, you know, trying to do the best he can in the field.
Fine, we'll find something better. But for now, we're going with F1. Can we trust him?
No.
Dwayne Haskins did not look great in his first start. I don't know that things.
There were moments. There were moments in the fact that they're coming off the bye.
Now
so you
the
hope
Redskins fan in you is back. There were moments. I like it. You're right.
There were moments.
You're right.
There were.
Yeah. There were moments.
We're awful, but look, it's a good schedule. It's certainly an easier schedule here for Haskins, and you like, you know, a matchup against the Jets, who are 22nd against the pass over the last 4 weeks, that just gave up 4 touchdown passes last week, 2 to Crowder, 2 to Golden Tate, 2 to Slayton. So McLaurin should get the majority of the targets in the Redskins passing game. They've gone more run heavy since Bill Callahan took over. But so, yes, I would agree with Field that trust is a strong word. So I don't know that I trust, but, I think he'll be a wide receiver 3/4 with some upside.
I think he's right there on the board between a wide receiver 3 and a wide receiver 4.
Hey, we got one more, guys, from Sam. Which flex player on
the Cowboy Sam?
No.
Just Sam.
Just normal Sam.
Regular Sam.
Not Cowboy Sam.
Not hot Sam like the pretzels back in the day either. Just Sam.
Wow.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get that?
Matthew will get it, I think.
Matthew, do you get it?
Oh, wow.
Not really. I'm on TikTok. Is it on TikTok?
That's true. That's right. You're hip. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm just old.
Oh my gosh.
I'll take it back.
I was downloading my Lizzo songs to do videos on TikTok. What do you got?
Sam wants to know what flex player on most waiver wires, say 70% plus available, has the potential to be a difference maker down the stretch.
Very specific question. I would go with Deebo Samuel.
Sure.
But not really anybody. I mean, obviously, if there was, it would be a player that we'd be talking about much more, much stronger.
What is the rostership percentage of Will Fuller? That I don't know off the top of my head, but he returned to practice yesterday. Is it high? Is it high? I don't know if he got dropped a lot when he went out with the injury.
Rostered in 55% of leagues.
Okay. So he's available in 45% of ESPN leagues. So not in enough leagues to answer this question, but just someone that you may want to throw into the waiver wild column because, again, it doesn't meet the threshold, but if Will Fuller's out there in your league,
keep an eye on him.
That's somebody I would pick up and grab, just knowing the potential of that offense and his talent.
David Njoku also.
What secret score? What do you got?
I just said to Field, do you just want to write the waiver wire column for him? Like
You're welcome to.
No, I don't even want to write love hate anymore. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I mean, after last week's performance, you might not need to.
Right, of course. You guys, anyway, I mean, no, I don't want to write. I used to write, this is some obscure TMR trivia for anyone that cares.
Yeah, it's just called at Matthew Berry trivia from now on, but no big deal.
Only on the Fantasy Life app. I used to write the waiver wire column. I did it for a number of years. Right, Keith? I don't remember how long ago it was, but I wrote it for a number of years. I wrote 2 columns a week. I wrote the waiver wire column and love hate, and then eventually
1964 to 68.
No, let's see. I mean, I started at ESPN in 2007. I wrote it for at least a couple of years, and then Chris Harris wrote it for a while, and then
you roll it into a little circle, and then you take the wax and you dip it on it with a little TMR seal, and you put it in your little Ravens pouch and send it on over.
Johnny Nice was the first name on the initial waiver wire column.
You understand what I'm doing here, Daniel?
Yeah.
You know what I'm telling you?
I get it. Yeah.
Otto Graham was Matthew's top 8 team league pickup of the week.
I'm out of ink.
You guys.
How am I doing? Difference maker.
I hate every single one of you. How am I doing, Kyle? How am I doing on my hipper than field
Fred
poll?
Biletnikoff.
Was it a big day when the printing press was created, Matthew?
Yes, it was actually. I remember. Cotton gin. Yeah, exactly. I remember sucking on a hard candy for excitement.
Did you used to write the AFL waiver column too, Matthew? The AFL?
Oh, yeah. Listen. I called Jim Brown before anyone had him on a roster. All right, what do we got? How are we doing on the poll, Thirsty Kyle?
Field is hipper than Matthew Berry. 68% of the crowd
That's
thinks
almost
so.
nice. Almost nice.
Yeah, but
come on, we got it. Go ahead.
No, I'm not doing it.
It's right there.
Absolutely not.
High five.
I'm Jerry Jones.
No. Screw you. Screw America. I hate you and you and you and you and you and you and 68% of our listeners.
We're back tomorrow for a great show. It's going to be electric.
You know what? If you're sad, Matthew Berry, you know what you can do when you go home?
What can I do?
You can subscribe to Disney Plus and watch all sorts of fantastic content.
Oh, good call,
It is
Daniel.
Disney Plus Day. Happy Disney Plus Day to every single person out there. Just $7 a month. I am legit excited. Like literally no one from ESPN or Disney corporate has asked me to talk about Disney Plus. Probably because they want, professional spokespeople. They're like, listen, you do whatever you need to, but we're going to ask Kevin Nagandi and Scott Van Pelt to do Disney Plus stuff, anchors that people like, right? We'll get Sage Steele and, Stephen A and whatever. But anyway, so no one's asked me to do it, but I will say that it's unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like when I think about
it's going to be unbelievable. It's got a massive library of content.
Before you even get to the new stuff, like just being able to get through the entire MCU, be able to watch every season of The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I can't wait.
I mean,
can't wait.
All the Star Wars stuff, all the Pixar stuff, all the Disney animated stuff.
I've heard the new Mandalorian is like incredible.
I thought that trailer looked pretty good last night. I was just like, all right, I'm in. I'm watching that. So it looks really cool. I recommend, if you're going to watch only one thing on Disney Plus, may I recommend Avengers Endgame? Which is the highest. It's the highest grossing movie of all time worldwide.
We're out of time, Field. Go ahead and shut it down.
You know what you can do is, after you're done subscribing to me on TikTok, then send me a screenshot of you watching Avengers Endgame on Disney Plus. Send me some screenshots of, there's one particular part, like when the movie gets to New York.
There you have it.
There's a guy you'll recognize.
We are back on Wednesday.
You can pause it on Disney Plus.
Mike, Stefania, getting you caught up on all the latest news and recapping Stefania's boondoggle to the Bay Area. We'll talk to you guys later.
Peace out.
You're an 06010. Never gonna hustle in case you didn't know. Matthew Berry, TMR.
You guys go ahead, give me grief for being on SportsCenter for 45 seconds. I think you could do better than me because I don't think you could.
Jailbait, Field Yates.
You're terrible at hashtag improv. At Field Yates. At Field Yates.
Stefania Bell.
Oh, don't let Barry convert you.
Secret Squirrel, Daniel Dodd.
Make it happen.
Media.